Hey yo, and welcome to the AWO Journeyman podcast. I am JD, the Carlton fan who is severely going through it this week. Joining me as usual is Nate, the Collingwood fan who is currently enjoying a nice casual game between Collingwood and GWS. How you doing, Nate?
Yep.
Yep. And joining us as usual is Maso, who has been enjoying a nice, Freo getting back to their nice little running best. How you doing, Maso?
Better than usual.
You're on this planet today?
Right. Yeah, I'm on this planet. Yeah. Doing all right.
You beautiful soul. All right, boys. Let's talk some footy.
This is my face watching the game.
Oh, amazing what happens when you play quick footy. So
It is, isn't
fucking
it?
chip it around, kick it to big contests and whatever. Just take it on and look what happens. Dusty kicks 4 goals, Cochin kicked a few, Jack Rewalt's kicking goals, Dylan Grimes down back. Just the old boys sticking it out. Do you think this is Richmond's win to, get their season up and running again, or is it just a wind back the clock, show you how good we are once and for all, and then just nothing?
I hope they fade away, to be honest.
You love it. Love a bit of a Richmond downfall.
Don't play back into form when we're about to face you in a couple of weeks. Or is it 3 weeks?
I mean, if you both played similar footy when we go to see it, it would be kind of nice. It would be a nice, entertaining game at least. I know you'll hate it.
Yeah, I'll hate it.
You'll hate it. On that, Nate, it's probably, I don't know, it's a hard one, but I reckon it's probably the game that does play them a little bit into form. That again, I think it has been said that if you have a big win like they did the week before, it's you kick over a certain amount of points, I believe, so far this year. Unless you're Carlton, who broke that against Brisbane. They're just another team that's rolled on the next week and had a win. So basically, West Coast at the moment, if you play West Coast, you're more than likely to have a win a week later. So it is hard to read into in that sense, but I do think that they've definitely hit their straps a little bit now.
I mean, fucking Nate said it best: play fast footy, you win. Back to the best, tackling ferociously, handballing like there's no tomorrow. Kick goals, you win. There you go. It's pretty much how we could sum it up.
But how much can you take out of it with Geelong's injuries? Because it's not just Dangerfield, it's DeConan, Cam Guthrie, Jack Henry has been out all season, Stangle's out, Close was suspended, Reece Stanley out, Gary Rowan, Jack Bowes, and if Menegola was available, he would have been playing, but he's out. So that's 10 players that would have been either in your starting lineup or at least an emergency as depth. So how much can we say, this is Richmond back to their best, plus Geelong just... It's not too much to worry about for Geelong. It's just...
But, I will butt in there and say also, what about some of the Richmond injuries as well? Some of those, like Lynch is still a massive out for them.
It's been a few weeks for Richmond now to adjust to that. Their depth players are playing more games, taking the game on. It depends on their fitness and how their longevity come season's end. For Geelong, it's going to take probably a few weeks to adjust without danger and all these players I've just mentioned.
I did not realize they had that many injuries out. Would not have tipped them if that was the case.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking looking back on that. If I wasn't so far behind in my tipping, I would have taken a bit of a risk with Richmond. That would have been the one game. But and then looking at Geelong's injury list after the game was like, okay, this doesn't really look like an upset. This is just... it's just... That's what happens when you've got good players out.
They also had, a couple of crucial players for them. Timmy Taranto, Jaden Short, Daniel Rioli. Tim Taranto, 28 disposals. And I reckon some of his kicking efficiency was a lot better yesterday. On Friday night. Jaden Short, I think he was predominantly playing off the halfback. So looking and same with Rioli, dangerous as usual. Rioli's been putting together another fine season as well off the half back line. So as that rebounding defender, definitely think that's one that's worked for them, and you love to see it. But Geelong, I don't think there's too much to worry about with Geelong. They're a very professional football club. We love to call Geelong professional, I think. And I think, but they are. They're that sort of team. They're a very professional team. Like you said, I think once those depth players get that sort of game time, and again, I don't think many of their players are out for long term as well. Only out short, like really short term.
Fucking hate that term. Short term, mid term,
short
long
term.
term. Just
I know, but
weeks.
We don't have weeks at that per se. So we've got to use the terminology.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
Well, do they have doctors in Geelong?
No,
can they put an estimate on it, or they just go short term?
No. Yeah.
Probably not. Probably not. But I don't think this was the main event of Friday night. We all know the main event took place straight after.
When I turned it over to West Coast and Gold Coast, I could hear Taz in the background go, "Well, here comes the pain." That's what it was.
I just immediately had Brock Lesnar's theme song just roll through my head. But to be fair, we rolled into this at halftime, and it was the true main event of Friday night.
Oh, fuck yes.
6-7-43, played 16-17, 113. Matt Rao can eat any amount of grass he wants, and the football world needs to stop filming him when he's doing this routine, because it's like, let's just let him be weird. Like, we're allowed, like, let's not bully him out of this.
Eat more grass.
Eat more grass. To be fair, who is it? Is it Jimmy Cheetah? I think is his name. He's the one. Yeah, James Cheetahs. That's the one. He was the one that he said that he was like, I'm going to take a huge chunk out of the Gabba next week, backing him in because let's be honest, Rao was in dominating form. Kicked a couple goals, which everyone's been. That was one thing that was brought up about his game, was that he hasn't been kicking enough goals because he kicked a lot of goals at the start of his career, but then dropped away, which of course I think is also people aren't acknowledging the fact that he was out for a very long period of time as well. But he's got himself back into it, and immediately started answering his critics and started kicking a few more goals.
Matt Rao just loves playing against West Coast. He just loves it. What is it? That is his third game with like 30 plus disposals against them, I think.
Didn't get 30, got 29. But how many? It was 29, 18 tackles, I believe it was.
Yeah, it's
17 tackles. 17. Yeah, club record for Gold Coast.
Mm.
I mean, he was everywhere on Friday. So let's not. We're not going to go on about the injuries, but another injury occurred for West Coast. My mate Jack Darling out with a fractured arm. From what was it fractured?
Yeah, fractured arm. And I'll give him. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's not. Are you hurt, Darling? No, he was legitimately hurt. Yeah,
and I got to admit, he looked at actually a decent amount of pain. So fair play to play out the game for him, because they didn't have much more going down forward. But I think he was a bit of a hindrance down there in the end. Like he wasn't providing much once that he did that arm injury.
At the end, in the beginning, past games, present games, future games. I don't know. Just a hindrance all around. Yeah,
just Jack Darling being Jack Darling. But so another one to add to their injury list. That's all we'll mention about it this week.
I would like to say Jake Waterman summed up the season by playing on out of bounds. I've not laughed that hard in a good while, and thank you, good sir, for that. That was beautiful.
I was going to say the same thing, except when someone kicked the ball into his head. That summed up their season. This 6-7-43 was West Coast's equal fourth lowest score in their history at home.
Wow.
Gold Coast biggest win away from home. We're saying the longest travel for any side to any venue was it's not Richmond to Marvel, it's Gold Coast to West Coast. There's two positives for West Coast, and they're probably the same ones each week. It's Oscar Allen down forward. He's kicking multiple goals.
Yep.
I'd rather him stick out the whole season, not get injured, rather than get to 50 goals. If he gets to 50 goals, good on him. But at this stage with West Coast, I just want to see him be fit for the entire season. Because if he goes down with injury, if we thought it was bad now, it'll get a lot worse if Oscar Allen goes down. He's got no other protection down there. And the Eagles won the tackle count, but that's because of good old Ginby Ginby. He had 16 tackles. He was on track. He had 15 up to three-quarter time. And he was on track for the league record, or even the West Coast record, but just one more tackle in that last quarter. Matt Rowell had to say, "No, fuck you." I'm Matt Rowell with 17 tackles.
I think two big positives for the Suns as well was, the connection between Witts and Rowell and Anderson in that midfield. I think you said it best, was since Miller's gone, or Took's gone out, it's really looked good for the Suns in there when it comes to the Rowell and Anderson connection. So, it's a great duo to have down there. And also I think Ben King was a good little, the dude could have kicked 7-8 goals. He was, as I like to say here, on fire. But yeah, so Ben King, he had a ripper game, makes his case for a pretty big contract with the Suns, but we'll see where we get with that. That's definitely a watch this space. I hope I'm trying to throw as many as I can into 30 seconds.
I like this cliche with watch this space. Take it.
Watch this space is one of my favorites. But yeah, definitely think those are two massive positives for the Suns that they've got going for them at the moment. And I just think they're a good watch. Hopefully they just keep rolling on with their nice little form at the moment.
But they're 4-5. They've won 3 of the last 4. They've got Brisbane next week, and then they've got 2 games in Darwin against the Dogs and Adelaide. Is it just another case of Gold Coast being a game or 2 outside the 8 yet again, and then they just fall off, or can they actually finally push through?
I personally think they can push through, because I think some of those teams that are around that 7 to 10 range are very gettable at the best of times. If they can find themselves in the form that they're currently playing in for an extended period of time, I think, they'll definitely, if they can have a nice little gold patch here, even post-bye. Let's be honest, with Gold Coast, it's always going to be post-bye.
Yeah.
But, let's see if they can roll into that deep part of the season with a little bit of patch of form. I think one of the big things that is going to be another watch this space will be when Miller comes back in, because he's not due out for the entire season. He's due to come back late in the year. And when that comes back in, one, it's going to be a big addition, but also, as you said, the connection that's already being formed, as I was sort of mentioning, the connection that's been formed between Rowell, Anderson and Witts, it can also throw those sorts of things into disarray. So, yeah, definitely good problems to have for the Suns, I guess, when it comes to later in the year. But again, they've got to roll in post-bye and again have another golden patch that I think they're having that right now. They're in very good form, I think, at the moment.
Shit heap out at West Coast, but a good heap out west is Freo. It's not a shit transition, but
13-8-86 plays 16-7, 103. Freo get up by 17 points. Take it away, Maso.
I'd just like to start with saying Luke Craxon. It was beautiful. The kicking goals, solo, doing everything, taking marks.
I have a question. Is it beautiful as in his game or his ass crack?
Both.
Or both?
Both.
I was going to say.
What can be said? We play fast, we win. The same as Richmond, Take notes, JL. The Fridge doing his best again, just dominating in the ruck. Is he now possibly the best ruckman in the comp?
Tim English. He's not there yet.
What is Tim English doing?
He's doing Brody Grundy shit.
I'll agree with the Tim English statement there.
But he got wrapped up by Darcy, so I don't get that.
Darcy's in good form, but Darcy's also had some real off games, whereas the consistency, I think, has gone to English this year.
Okay, I'll give you that. But anyway, back on track. The forward connection finally is looking good. It's finally on top of things. And I love shitting on this bloke. Taberner is not getting back in the team.
I blame Griffin Logue.
Yeah, it's good.
It really does. You're gonna kill it.
It looks good. It looks absolutely amazing, and I want to see what the duo of Amos and Tracy looks like in about 3-4 years. Yeah, sorry, Tabmans, you got to hang up the boots. Small forwards went to work again, put on the pressure. Tackle pressure was amazing this game. One of the best tackling aggressive games I've seen from Freo in a long time. All right, back onto Sydney though. Was this us playing well, or was this an undermanned Sydney?
I think you can't understate that anyone playing Sydney at the moment is playing an undermanned Sydney, but they're also filling some of those gaps quite nicely. And I mean, they took it up to Collingwood for most of the game last week. So I don't think it's that. I think at the moment they're out of form, like you said. Well, they are like out of form, undermanned.
Low confidence as well.
Yeah, low confidence. They're not putting the foot, like, you know, when they're getting it into their forward line. The pressure's not really there as it has been in previous seasons at the moment. Also, their connection with their forwards is quite lacking at the moment. So, but they've got players like Errol Golden that's stepping up, which is like he's putting together one hell of a season.
I was gonna say, yeah, who from Sydney can say they've had a better year now than they had last year? And I was gonna say Errol Golden. So yeah,
Errol Golden's probably. It took me a while. Like, it took us a while to think of it, but yeah, Errol's probably the one that has had that year that's gone to the next level. But as you sort of said, I mean, that's only one player. And I do think that's the problem at the moment is they've got a lot of players lacking confidence, out of form. And that's probably what's letting them down. But your midfield dominated this game. So
they absolutely wrecked them. I was amazed.
They say games are won and lost in the midfield. This game was won and lost in the midfield 100%. There's a reason why you lost this. They lost this game. And it's the fact that they couldn't get the ball out of there. And that's what's been sort of hurting them the last few weeks. Has just been the fact that they can't, because they're not really lacking in the midfield. They're just getting killed in there.
I mean, yeah, but the thing that was that the load was shared. It wasn't just one standout in the midfield. That's usually been the case for us. It's either been Brayshaw or Sarong, and then Jaeger's having an okay game. But this time it was a standout for all three of them. Erasmus is building. I think he was a bit stiff to be taken out for Fife as a sub, but then again, who else would have you taken out? But yeah, once again, good confidence builder. First win there in, I think, 12 years.
Yeah, your first game in Sydney since 2018. You don't play there often. And yeah, your first win in Sydney since 2011. First time you kicked back-to-back scores over 100 since 2016 as well.
So, good. Hopefully we can take it to Geelong at home, but we'll see.
Buddy Franklin kept goals. Third time in his career, back-to-back games. Third time he's kept goalless this year. The last time he's been kept goalless more times than 3 was his first year, which was 6. It really is a buddy problem down forward. It's, again, JD mentioned it best. It's just a connection issue down forward. And you got Papley that's pushed up the ground a bit more. He'd be the one crumbing it and kicking goals. He's not doing that so far. And Heaney he looks out of form. Their midfield aura is gone, and down back they're just too small.
Actually, yeah, that's one more point. Brandon Walker didn't get the props that I think he should have. He absolutely wrapped Papley up.
North Melbourne, down in Tassie, take on Port Adelaide. 10-5-65, plays 20-15, 135. Port Adelaide by 70 points. And Jason Horn. I was going to say, you know why? Because I was thinking of the JHS. There's so much of that shit going on at the moment that it's confusing me. But Jason Horn-Francis gets his revenge over North Melbourne.
This was not a grudge match. There was no physicality involved. We were expecting it, didn't happen. We'd have liked this game, JD. You had Jason Horn-Francis, Sam Powell-Pepper, Luke Davies-Uniacke, Darcy Byrne-Jones was laid out, so gave you a little bit of relief there, I guess.
I just love Bulls, though.
Why didn't Zerha do stuff?
It's funny. You mentioned all those players, and I'm sorry, I just kept butting in, but you mentioned all those players. They're all just Bulls. Like Zerha's another good example. Like what's with us using all those analogies for Bulls? What is them all having big long names?
James Stephenson, right. Another one.
You're right. There's too many. Oh, Jesus.
He's not a fool.
Steve-O is what I still can't believe they call him Steve-O. This game is another disappointment for the Kangaroos. They would have been wanting to put it. Like I don't think the effort was lacking again as much this week, but it's certainly not sustaining for long enough periods. I think we've seen that even West Coast are hanging in a little bit longer than at the best of times than North Melbourne. I don't think they're worse than West Coast, but I definitely think that unfortunately they're not matching some of the pressure that the rest of the competition's bringing. And that's just a building block for them. And I'm going to constantly keep picking on North Melbourne for pressure because it's something that you can easily bring every week. And it's something that it seems to be that they just seem to lack. Now, to be fair in this game, they also suffered a decent chunk of injuries. One sec, you take over. I'm going to get this injury list up because this was quite a terrible little run for him. Actually, sorry, Luke Davies-Uniacke.
Oh no, he's not injured, is he?
Yeah, he's injured.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jack
wrap up the team.
Perez and Darcy Tucker.
Yeah, it's done. Darcy Tucker and LDU, they're done. Cut them. They're done.
But wait, there's more. Cam Zerha, fractured jaw, and Josh Goda, MCL, I think.
No, not me, Zerha. No.
So
it also leads into fucking the expected call-ups. One of them was Aaron Hall, Braden George. No, not Braden George. George Wardlow, and fucking hell, can't believe this. Apparently, Taron Thomas could potentially be playing AFL footy.
Jesus,
that's how dire it's getting.
Wow. Yeah. Speaking to the resident North Melbourne fan in this household, she was saying to me that basically, the problem they're having at the moment as well is, and this is probably also down to a bit of not playing your players consistently in the AFL. But a lot of their VFL players come in and they're not doing enough. So some of them have gotten a bit of a shot. Aaron Hall's a perfect example. He got a shot a few weeks ago and just did not take advantage of it at all. And he's someone who should be taking advantage of his any shot he's given because he's been playing AFL for enough time. And he's been very good for them in the past. So he's got to find that form, especially, like you said, they're going to have to be forced to use a lot of players from their VFL team. So, yeah, a bit of a dire time for North Melbourne in that sense. But Port Adelaide, again, just rolling in, doing what they need to do. I'm really rating this team this year. I think they're looking just the spoils when it comes to their balance of players. I love the way they're sort of just every week they get the way they sort of going about it. Losing Todd Marshall though, that sort of hurts them a little bit with head. That he'll be out for probably has he entered the concussion protocol? I would say.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for 2 because it's his second head knock.
Yeah, and you don't want to risk anything with that. So
let me butt
in. Yep.
I don't give a shit how good they play all season. What matters is how they play in the finals.
Prelim or bust.
I don't. Yeah. With
Remember,
Port,
that's the benchmark. Apparently,
they let us down, and when what did they finish first a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Am I I'm wrong? And then they just went out in straight sets, pretty much. No, they win one.
They win a qualifying final, but then when it comes to a prelim, they're allergic to grand finals. Port Adelaide.
Hey, so are Brisbane. So I always think about that. I mean, to be fair, Chris Fagan's sort of heading down that path in that sort of sense, where the Lions are another team that are sort of allergic to grand finals. But yeah, Port have still got a lot to prove.
Port.
Powerhouse.
They were a powerhouse.
Powerhouse. But yeah, 70-point victory down in Tassie, doing what they need to do. They just roll on to the next game. North Melbourne have a lot to think about over the next week. I think this has been one of the more disappointing rounds of football, but another disappointing game. 7-7-49 plays 15-13, 103. Melbourne by 54. Pretty spirited Hawthorn for the most part. Came out and Melbourne just did Melbourne things, as I think I like to use that phrase for them. They come out, they just do their thing. They're a very entertaining team to watch, and they just, like I said, they just do their thing. They're a little bit inaccurate, but again, this is just Melbourne flexing their muscle again, just holding Hawthorn off. And again, Hawthorn didn't have the worst of games. Definitely had a lot of pressure in this game, but the pressure just dropped for certain periods of this game for them, which is a lot more to be expected. With that's what we're sort of saying with teams at this level. You got to bring that pressure. And I know with them, they're going to have it. I'm giving them more of a pass purely because their off weeks are only becoming maybe once every month. Whereas, consistently at the moment, we got no pressure from West Coast or North Melbourne. But, at the moment, Hawthorn bringing a lot more pressure than those bottom teams. The Hawthorn headache, it was a little bit back this week. It wasn't, Melbourne were just too good of a side to beat.
It could have been worse. That first quarter was shocking by Hawthorn. You can't excuse that, unfortunately. But fair play to them in the second and third quarters. They brought back that pressure. They got the margin to win within 5 goals, even though it was a long shot. And Melbourne, they won another last quarter. I actually have nothing on this game, really. Nothing really bad happened. Petrarca had a late injury, but he'll be right for Friday night against Port Adelaide. But in Hawthorn, they'll be right to take on bloody West Coast in Tasmania next week.
Oh, God.
2 main events right there.
Yeah, he's looking forward to that. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, was it pretty much the way to sum this up was the Triple M commentary was Melbourne aren't playing the best, but they don't need to.
No, that was it. Just
do
what you needed to do, and that was it.
Well, they took, they from what I've read, they took its season best, 21 marks inside 50. That's always gonna win you games when you're getting that many shots on goal. Again, they've just had a few weeks where they've just rolled in and done their thing through this year. They've only had a few tests so far. Some of them have failed as well. So Melbourne, once they start to get tested a bit more, we'll start to see a lot more of their character and what they're truly made of. But they're again, Melbourne are just. I think Melbourne are also one of those teams that I'm very, I probably could finish top of the ladder this year. I think that top position is actually anybody's game at the moment. So it's actually a fun watch at the top of the ladder at the moment.
Yeah, no, Collingwood will get rid of top spot when they feel like they're ready to give it up. I'll just say that.
Fair enough.
Another team that's vying for top spot is Brisbane. They took on Essendon Saturday night at the Gabatoir. A fun little fact about this one: head-to-head, Brisbane Essendon, 17 wins each and 1 draw.
So did not know
it's an interesting one.
Yeah, good little even split there. Essendon last one at the Gabba. Surprising upset win last year against them, but not so much this time around. First half was a bit of an ugly watch, more so on Brisbane, failing to convert. Essendon, bit of a surprise to be up by 10 points at half time, but 8 goals to 2 in that second half meant Brisbane won by 42 points. Joe Danaher kicking 6 goals against his ex-girlfriend. Nice little glow up for Joe Danaher, but he cashed in on Essendon's undersized defenders. Charlie Cameron, though, was kept goalless by McGrath, but that's probably the only positive I have for Essendon. Their midfield was all right. They won. They beat Brisbane in the clearances by 1, if you give them that. Without Darcy Parish. Yeah, without Darcy Parish, but to lose by 42 points, it was always going to be a tough ask for Essendon. They've lost 4 in a row. They've fallen out of the top 8 now. Still around the marks, but it's going to be, yeah. They do play West Coast and North Melbourne twice, so that's 4 guaranteed wins right there. So they're going to have to try and find probably another 5 elsewhere. It's not a tricky draw. Most of that tough draw is about to be done. They do have Richmond for Dreamtime, who they haven't beaten since 2014.
God damn.
Yeah, so I think it's one of the worst, one of the biggest win streaks from one side against another, that one. 13 wins in a row for Richmond over Essendon.
My mate brought it up. It was like, yeah, third quarter fade outs. He's the Essendon fan. And like, why? I just don't get why.
I do think there's something to be said for their first half. Their first half was quite good, as you said, Nate. The problem there is also the fact that Brisbane were also just missing a lot of shots. But the fact
easy ones too.
Yeah, but the fact is, at the end of the day, they do find they've been quite accurate this season. Don't get me wrong; they weren't. I think they still kicked 4 goals, 4 goals, 5 in that quarter, as well. So basically, at the end of the day, I do think they're playing a lot better footy this year. But yeah, those three quarter fade outs are really starting to kill them. Because I do think they're another team that they come back strong in the last. They defend well, but again, it's always when the game's a little bit too little, too late. And Brisbane usually, and again against Brisbane, usually they're just going to keep kicking a few goals as well here and there, just to keep putting the dagger in the heart in the fourth anyway. So at the end of the day, they were going to get steamrolled.
I think I got to correct myself. I think it was 10 goals Brisbane kicked in that second half, not 8. Give them a little bit more credit.
Yeah, 10 goals.
I got one more thing to bring up. Who let Joey Danaher pick Let It Go for his song? Whoever that is, they need a slap in the face because that is atrocious, and I'm sick of hearing it.
I know, some of these songs are shit.
It's just terrible.
But some are great.
Some, yeah.
Because when we get Country Road, by the way, we can't sing them because we don't want to get sued. But we do, if we do it, we sing it completely out of tune. So it's let it go, let it, or we sing completely different words where it's let it snow, let it snow.
Hey, Zach Bailey. Ooh. I do have one more thing to say on this, but I'm calling someone out. Sam Draper. I'm calling this bloke out. It's not an arrow. Reason for this, I've mentioned this before. Richmond have beaten Essendon 13 times in a row. I've got a few things here as well. Essendon, since the start of 2021, they're 4 wins, 13 losses at the MCG. Sam Draper, 3 wins, 12 losses at the MCG. I am putting the blowtorch on Sam Draper for next week. If Essendon is going to beat Richmond, it's going to be because of Sam Draper. He will play the game of his life to get Essendon over the line. I expect nothing less from Sam Draper. You've got Andrew Phillips assisting you, but Sam Draper needs a big fucking game next week. Bit of a season on the line kind of game, 8-point game. I love these games recently. But Sam Draper, I'm expecting big things. I like to pick out one player and go, I've got my eye on you. Or I'm going to watch him like a hawk. I'm going to be watching Sam Draper like a fucking hawk. Dreamtime at the G. Step up. Get
someone else. I think someone else who needs to be not completely blowtorch, but someone else who needs to completely back up their performance consistently is Joe Danaher. 6 goals this week. He just goes completely missing as well. So let's see if Joey Danaher can also back up his performance. Yeah, you can do this against your old club and piss them off. Because I'm sure we can ask our good friend Connor, aka Jabs, that we can ask him how he feels about this sort of performance from Joe Danaher. I'd love to hear his reaction, so I'll get that for you.
Saturday night, Marvel Stadium, Western Bulldogs, 11-13-79, winning by 20 points. Carlton, I think they were 8-11, not 9-5.
8-11,
either way,
yeah.
8-11. So yeah, 20 points either way. Dogs, 6 wins, or 6 of the last 7 they've won. The Blues, they've lost 4 of the last 5. bit of a game of two halves for Carlton. Again, quick footy. They showed it, but it was just too little, too late. I'm going a bit too deep already. I'll let JD take over.
Get into it.
We usually cover teams for 5 minutes and then we just go bang on Carlton. But this is we're not going to put a 5-minute warning on this one. We are going to put a warning on it though. So JD, you take over. You give us your analysis and yeah.
Let's just talk something. Let me just talk something fun for like a second as well, just so I could feel good before I do this. So hockey playoffs, 3-6. Kraken take it to Game 7 in the Stanley Cup. It's not for the Stanley Cup, but it's in the playoffs for the Stanley Cup. So good fun for me to watch. At least I got something to watch at the moment that's fun for me. Meanwhile, last night I think I was having multiple conniptions. If that's
that's a big word.
I was dying, man. It's funny. Nate is so positive. It was being so much more positive for me last night, and
Kenzo Suzuki.
I just felt, but no, I felt bad because you were actually being positive even when we hit the front, and I was still shitting on. I sort of bit back then. It's just this team has just let all the fans down this year. This is a team of superstars playing like an absolute team of nobodies. This is a team that we've built that is meant to take us to the promised land finally. And I think you've said it perfectly. I didn't think anything of it, Nate, the last few weeks when we were talking about how, it's not a 6, if Carlton don't make finals, it's not that much, it's not a problem and all those things. I am furious now thinking about those sorts of comments because it is a problem. We need to be pushing. We are a team that should be pushing themselves into finals finally. This is an absolute failure being in 7 to 10. I did not think Carlton were going to be in the 7 to 10 range. I didn't think putting a comment on Instagram saying, "Will we ever see success?" would get 80 likes over the day because so many people just agree at the fact that Carlton is just one of those teams that it's like a cock tease. It's like an abusive relationship. It's something that just annoys the shit out of you.
Dare I say it? Is it blue balls?
Yeah. He's done well there. He's done well with like the Kenzo Suzuki one there, but yeah, this has been a team that should be absolutely heading towards the promised land. I do not buy into the fact that they. I will not buy into. I'll say this: I will not buy into the fact that we need to sack Voss. I actually think he's been making some okay moves throughout his time coaching, especially last night. I think the move he made to make our small forwards a bit more prominent was actually really smart. That got us back into the game in the third quarter. It got those small forwards into the game because the talls were doing absolutely nothing. So it was great to see him sort of doing a little, doing some different things. But at the end of the day, also, we're not dropping people who deserve to be dropped. We're not making people earn their spots. I mean, Paddy Dow's been sitting in the twos for I don't know how many weeks. Give him a shot, finally. He deserves it. He's earned it. I'm sick of people saying, he's not a good kick, he's not this, he's not that. And I guarantee if he comes in, people will shit on him. But at the end of the day, I reckon he'll bring 100% more effort than half of these blokes at the moment. So there's a couple of blokes at Carlton that really need to watch their spots. Harry Mackay could be somebody. I know it sounds insane when you've got two tall timber down there, but it's somebody who's just absolutely killing the club at the moment. You can't be kicking the way he's kicking and expecting to win games. But I'm going to stop myself there. I think I might explode if I keep going. This team let the fans down again last night. They got themselves in front. They worked themselves back from 31 points down. They could, as soon as we hit the front, I knew it was going to happen. They shit the bed. They couldn't sustain it. They need to look at themselves again. It's taken years to build this team up, and it feels like it's just going to keep falling down. And the thing that's pissed me off, I think, the most is the fact that someone like Cripps still has not played a final. And that is something that is absolutely disgusting to me. Like, how has he never been to the promised land? So, Carlton, You let us down again. It's funny. I was going to put him in the arrow, and now I've got to think of something else. But yeah, that was basically a full blown arrow for them because they've just. I think we're at the point where it's we can safely say they've let down the fans.
I know you guys can't see it watching, but Nate has put a picture of Rory Lobb in the fucking corner here, and he's just been deaf staring into my soul with a cheeky little grin, and it is just pissing me off nonstop. So if you've noticed me throughout the stream, just gone, that is me deaf staring back at Rory Lobb. What did he do? He kick 2 goals? Is that all?
Yeah.
I didn't get to see it.
Is that all?
I didn't get. I mean, like
he did his usual pinch hit as well. Like I said, he's just playing his role. He's actually, I reckon he's just doing his part down at the Dogs. Again, I ranted about Carlton, but again, it's something to be said about the Dogs. They are in mighty fine form. I think this might be the best form. You know how normally throughout the season they're usually pretty inconsistent. They find themselves at that sort of 8th range. I think this year is a year they can really push top 4. I think they're looking a lot better than they were in those first 2 rounds. They've been probably one of the more consistent teams after round 2. So yeah, definitely something to be said about the Dogs and their winning ways as well.
I was going to bring this up. 14 games to go. If the ladder stays as it is, they'll only play top 8 sides 5 more times.
Yeah, that's whack.
Like, they've got a pretty good fixture to cash in on to make top 4. Positives for the Dogs in this game, though. I really enjoyed Bailey Smith in the midfield. It was his best game so far this season. He stood up when Treloar went down with injury last week. And just players like Ed Richards and Bailey Williams and Bailey Dale, Anthony Scott kicking a few goals. Just these mid players, well, they're not, I won't say mid players, but, the players at the Dogs, unheralded players at the Dogs who are just stepping up.
Who doesn't love Ed Richards?
Oh, people who hate Rangers don't like Ed Richards. I don't know.
There is someone out there that doesn't like. I've actually heard there is some hate for Ed Richards.
What?
I think he might have been a little bit of a scapegoat. Maybe I'll have to ask Shannon if he was a little bit of a scapegoat there for a little bit.
If you hate Ed Richards, uppercut yourself. All right? There you go.
Yeah. Hey, we at the AWO Journeyman do not tolerate the hate for Ed Richards.
No. You can hate on the lobster, but you cannot hate on Red Richards, all right?
Red Richards.
Red Richards. There you go. That's his new name.
I love when we nickname people, and there's a good one, Red Richards.
Mm.
But something to be said was, again, Dogs midfield. It's funny. We sort of called their midfield into question a little bit, but when those players, they only fall out for those. Like, Liberatore was only out for a week. Their depth really hasn't had to be pushed. So those players are looking real good at the moment still. Jack McRae, Tom Liberatore, Bontempelli, just looking absolutely just spoils at the moment, especially with Tim English as well. But one positive for Carlton, I'm just going to have one positive. Yeah. And it's been the positive of the year since he's come back, and it's Sam Walsh again. The dude is the only thing. Like, it feels like at times he feels like the only reason to watch Carlton, because you can watch the number 18, heart and soul of the club. You can watch him every week, and just you're going to get effort out of him, and you're going to get somebody who's going to try his absolute heart out. So, well done again, Walshy. But again, Carlton just disappointing the fuck out of me.
One more thing, boys. One more thing. I still do not have faith in the Dogs. I reckon they're gonna. I still don't see it. I reckon we'll get the finals. They may make finals, and then they're just gonna fall out. And then I'm gonna come back here and imitate that fella from Family Guy and be like, "Phonies, big fat phony.
These guys are phonies." These guys are phonies. It's fair, actually. I will. I mean, but if they roll into the top 4, I will. I'll call you a phony.
So a team that's a bunch of phonies is St. Kilda.
Hey,
they absolutely got found out today at Adelaide Oval. 19-7, 121, played 10-9, 69.
Nice.
Oh,
Guess who I blame?
Nice. Would it be
Ross
Ross Lyon?
Maybe.
But Adelaide by 52 points. This is, I think we all said it. This was Adelaide's best game for the year. They put together one hell of a performance today. Their connection in the midfield to their forward line was supreme. They were just elite today, all across the board. I think one of the moves of the year has been Jordan Dawson into the midfield. Coming off that halfback, he's got that defensive pressure that he got from all those years playing halfback. And you always have that option of throwing back there as a break glass in case of emergency. But him going into that midfield with his defensive pressure, and then also the way he just grunts his way through it, and making him captain, I think has all paid off for Adelaide. So well done to Matty Nix on making that decision to move him in there. But like I said, Adelaide, what a supreme performance. I'm never someone who's a fan of Adelaide, but I tell you what, how can you ignore the performances they're putting on this year? Because again, that was a mighty. They're earning the respect, as we would say, and this was another game where they've earned absolute respect and dominated. Tex,
what the hell? Yeah, 5 goals.
Turn back the clock. And 5 goals to his name. And just what more do you say about this game other than the fact that St Kilda sort of doing the same thing that Carlton are doing, starting to disappoint their fans, going backwards rather than forwards, instead of proving that they're the team that they, that everyone sort of expected them to be this year. But basically, I think Adelaide are being the team that everyone expected them to be this year. They're taking their game to a whole completely different level. You called it, Mason. I mean, 100% you called that one. They're looking so much better. I think when we've criticised their rebuild from previously, but basically I think this was brilliant. This has been brilliant for them. They've built this so well, and I think it was almost the silent rebuild that sort of happened underneath our noses, and now they're just looking like they're going to push themselves into the 8. And like I said, we'll see how they going into deeper into the season.
As a neutral, I love this. This is a game I actually want to go back and watch again. That's how good they were here. They said to St Kilda, if you want to beat us, you have to take it to us. Beat us at our own game. We're just going to penetrate your defense. We're going to go over the top of you, and we've got multiple avenues to goal. And that's exactly what Adelaide did, not just in terms of forward 50 entries. They destroyed them in the midfield. I think it was plus 91 in disposals, plus 47 in marks. They even evened up the tackle count. So this was just a demolition job. Is it the sort of performance for St Kilda where we're thinking, they're just a bunch of phonies? I know I said that for the transition into this game, but can they make finals with this team? Is it all coming when it comes crashing down and it hurts inside for them, or?
Yeah, Tex definitely ate about 6 Wheat Bix this morning. I think Adelaide has unveiled the secret Krabby Patty formula to beat St Kilda.
First it was Port Adelaide. First it was Port. Now Adelaide's just taking that to 11.
I love it. Adelaide teams fuck you,
of
Ross
South
Lyon.
Australia.
Adelaide does not like Ross Lyon. Me neither, guys. Me neither. But anyway, cheeky out the back balls, which is great. Great to see. That has always been Ross Lyon's weakness, is out the back ball. And just taking it to them. If you can out pressure and outpace St Kilda, they will crumble, as we saw today.
And a big out for them as well. They lost Membry again today. I think he'll be out for the short term. But still a big out for them. But they will have the inclusion of King soon as well. So they have been decimated by injuries at the start of this season.
Problem is they're not going to have King and Membry together.
True.
And it's just you're bringing players in and they're then going to have a couple of games to get back into fitness and to get into rhythm and whatnot. And it's just I think this is going to hurt them in the long run. Saint fans are sitting on the side, going, oh, yeah, we're doing great. We've got all these injuries out. Wait till we get these players back in. blah, 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 blah. But it's going to, I may, eat my words, but I feel it's going to hurt them in the long run because it's going to cause instability in the team. I feel they're about to fall off a cliff. But, once again, I could eat my words.
Is that feeling or hoping?
A little bit of both. But they've been great. You can't fault them how they've been so far this season. They've been absolutely amazing with what they've had, but Adelaide were just phenomenal today. I don't think anybody could have stopped Adelaide today.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at St Kilda is when they're on, they're very their defense is very, very hard, defensive pressure is very hard to beat. But when it gets beaten, like Adelaide did today, like you said, that they were sort of penetrating over their defense, it really does fall apart, and they don't have a second plan to go to.
Then the heads drop and confidence goes.
Yeah, and you don't want that to become a consistent thing in your game, because as soon as that sort of stuff starts to creep in, you'd sort of start to question why you'd sack a coach like Brett Ratton and go down the Ross Lyon path. So, and again, I'm not saying sack Ross or anything like that, but you know what you're going to get with Ross. You knew you were going to get defensive games. And the fact is, at the moment, is, like I sort of said, is that game plan is very easy to learn, because we've seen it on display for so long. It was only a few years that we basically got, no real Ross Lyon defensive game plan. But I definitely think that, Adelaide were just unbeatable today. I do think they could have beaten anybody in the competition with how they played today. So they just keep on with some of their great form. And another team that's become very entertaining to watch this year. Like you said, they're just somebody who just keeps rolling in and winning games and playing a good brand of footy. Good footy energies.
I'll give praise to Tex Walker as well. Kicked 5 goals. Did it before Sir Doug Nicholls' round. I like to see him do that during those rounds.
Yeah, that's probably good. Probably a good one.
My question to you guys is, who had the best performance of the round? Was it Adelaide or was it Collingwood?
Both very fine performances. I think theirs was against a little bit better opposition, so I'm going to give it to Adelaide this round. But a good transition to go into, because I was just about to go into it as well, as this game just ended. 18-12, 120, plays 7-13, 55. Collingwood absolutely dominated the Pies dominated the Giants, by 65 points. What a win by Collingwood, just rolling in, doing again. I think it's starting to say Collingwood doing Collingwood things as well, because we've said they're earning the respect of everybody in the competition in terms of the way they play. They're the most entertaining team in the competition. Again, Adelaide today would have been, again, 2 very fine teams to watch today in terms of the way they play. But yeah, definitely think that the Pies are becoming a very scary force to come up against. I am not looking forward to playing them next Sunday.
This game here was like the equivalence of when you're playing Black Ops 2 with the bots, and you've just turned into recruit, and you've just gone ham.
Yeah. He's totally right. Yeah. My question to the GWS fan watching this: can GWS actually kick a footy?
There was a lot of
their turnovers
today.
Their turnovers were sloppy.
I believe they were well below 50% for most of that game today, so well below AFL standard today when it comes to their efficiency across the board. But some of the butchers that they had early on in that game, and that was when they were right in it. Especially because you've said this before as well. They love to play you. So again, maybe with Toby Green, it's a little bit different. Probably not. I mean, especially from that margin. But yeah, there was just no effort from them today, and I think it started with their skill point.
It was a good game for a small forward to get back into form. Elliott kicking 3 goals, Ginnivan 2, McCreary 2, Bobby Hill 2,
Mason Cox.
Elliott kicking 2, Mason Cox. I think that's because bloody Matt Flynn. What the hell are you doing, Mason?
Just notorious small forward Mason Cox.
I want to see Mason Cox do the double cobras.
Oh,
Mate, it was that sort of game. He kicked 2 goals, won the hit out.
he was dominant.
A lot of intercept marks. You'll probably get a cheeky Brownlow vote out of this game. Here's a key stat for the Giants, and I think it's the lowest tackle count from any side this season, 29. So you lose by 65 points, and you lay 29 tackles. Collingwood laid 63. You lost the tackle count by 34 and 65 points.
Did they go for the pub? Like, what happened? Like, did they go to the pub for, Palmy? What happened there?
I'll go to Southern Cross and I'll see the players at Mail Exchange or Cooper's Inn or whatever. Like all
the Mail Exchange. Good old Mail Exchange. Shout out to the Mail Exchange Hotel.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, don't worry, mate. One day when you come over here, we'll take you to it.
Okay.
It's not a plug, but
nice
we can give a lot of shout outs to clubs in Melbourne.
I don't want to hear about this clubs. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it already. They don't exist.
Get better venues in Perth. That's all I'm gonna. We'll have our judgment of them soon.
Oh, spoiler alert! They're shit. There you go.
Just to summarise this game, Collingwood percentage boosting win. They'll stay on top of the ladder, and they'll take on Carlton next Sunday. Big clash for Carlton, but for Collingwood, it's just another game. But we'll talk about that game in depth midweek.
100%. No, but at the moment I agree with him. Wait till we have okay. Do we actually no? Watch this space. It didn't even let me think about it. I didn't even think about it. AFL 23. Let's put you in the fucking arrow sights. Oh, sweet Jesus. Talk about a botch of a game. This game's release, that was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. You two just drank water at the exact same time. What a botch of a release for AFL 23. This is something that Nate can punch in with me for a little bit. How many patches? Can I interview you a little bit as somebody who has the game? How many patches have you had to go through for this game so far?
So I've had this game for I don't know how many days. Definitely under 2 weeks, but I've seen 8 patches.
8 patches. Now, how many gigabytes would some of those patches be?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
6 to 8 gig.
Yes.
Just sort of out of curiosity, 6 to 8 gig, 10 gig.
I'm actually surprised at how big this game is in terms of the size for such a shit fucking game.
So we can all sort of sit here and go, well, you know what that sort of means? The game wasn't fucking ready. And I'm sick of big game companies, and I know Big Ant is not a big game company, but I'm sick of any game company that wants to make a game and release it unreleased. And this is another one that's coming out. No game has really dominated been really good the last few years. Like there's a handful here and there. I shouldn't say any game's been bad, but there's been a handful here and there that are very good, but that's it. At the moment, we are dealing in a very bad period of gaming where not a lot of new stuff is very good, and AFL 23 is a perfect example of that. Some of the glitches that we could go through, I don't even think it's worth spending time because the list that I've seen is so exponential. Does anybody have any highlights that they've seen? I think one of my personal ones was that you mentioned was the bench in the middle of the field. That's quite possibly the greatest thing I've ever heard is the fact that Big Ant actually made it so you could put a bench in the middle of the field. What the fuck? But AFL 23 being one of the most untrustworthy games of 2023 already, and making any fan of an AFL game just be embarrassed that they had to buy this monstrosity. I'd love to see what the return rate is for it. The AFL is probably going to lose money on this one because there's absolutely no way that this game was ready. You're better off playing something like an AFL Evolution 2 that was a little bit more fun. You're better off going back and playing something from 2004 because that's what this game looks like it's from. I do not understand how shit we could make this game look, and it is made in 2023. It looks like it was made in 2003. So, Big Ant, AFL 23, you've been arrowed.
Uppercut yourself.
Let's go break some hearts!
Alrighty. I know I have been extremely biased with my picks, but guess what? I don't care. So this fella here was born on the 4th of August, 2002. He is from, that just gives it away, a dairy farming area in the north of Victoria. It's the big kahuna, Cyclone Tracy. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? This is cereal. I'm super cereal.
He's blasted you a little bit.
He was recruited by Fremantle with their first selection, 7th overall in the 2021 rookie draft. He's just a big unit. He tacks packs, and I love to see it. And the best part about him is he's going to keep Taberner out of the team. So in my mind, he's the boyest of boys. And I hope to see more from him. Woo! What are you doing to your finger there? Is that supposed to be a cyclone?
It's a cyclone, mate.
Okay.
Just keep him away from Darwin. Could you imagine Freo playing a game in Darwin? Tracy kicking a bag. The headline: Cyclone Tracy destroys whatever team.
Cyclone. It'd be, you know what exactly what it would be, and it would be the Darwin newspaper that would probably write it. It would be Cyclone Tracy hits Darwin.
No, they've got a good history. I think it's the NT Bulletin.
It would be something like that.
Headlines.
Yeah, it'd be Cyclone Tracy hits Darwin. It would be something like that, and it'd be fucking so insensitive, but so funny.
Mate, I wouldn't be surprised if the intern at Fox Footy will have that headline for like a link to their articles.
Don't you worry. The worst Australian would be ahead of it. They'd be right on top of that.
But Cyclone Tracy, welcome to the Boys Club.
Well, he's from Kahuna.
Yeah.
You remember this, pal? You're a boy in a man's world.
Ricky Mott.
I love that we just went full stone cold for this one. Ricky Mott. Who the fuck's Ricky Mott?
Look it up while I keep talking. Ricky Mott missed out on the 1999 and 2000 drafts, was taken pick 74 in the 2001 draft by Sydney, selected as ruck depth for Jason Ball and Stephen Doyle, but made his debut round 1 2002 against Brisbane at the SCG. Played 17 games in his debut season. His biggest moment was missing a set shot straight in front, 15, 20 metres out, to lose the game against Essendon. Rocked up to 2003 pre-season overweight and was delisted by Sydney. Was picked up in the rookie draft by Fremantle for 2003. Didn't play a game. Was delisted in 2004 or end of 2003 by Freo. Was picked up in the national draft 2004 by Carlton. Pick 57 and played just another 2 games in 2004 for Carlton. But in total, 19 games against 15 teams. He nearly played against every side. 5 wins, 13 losses, 1 draw. I'll have a more in-depth story on this bloke because that's just half of it. He's got a bit of a backstory post-AFL. Not him, but the rumour sphere. Let's just say.
I love this shit.
He's got like 2 photos.
Mate, JD, Maso. We're going to talk about him at the end of the year award show, but Ricky Mott inducted into the Stephenson Warry Hall of Fame.
Hey, who the... Not even Google knows who this fella is.
I mean, even I'm confused. I'm like, what? I can't wait for this. Like, I can't wait for the end of year show now to get more on this one.
He's missing. He's MIA.
Takeshita Watch. He didn't show up on Dynamite this week, and that's Takeshita Watch.
You know what I think we should be doing every week is when Takeshita's on our screens, we should be asking, "Where's Takeshita?" Because at the end of the day, where's Takeshita? But I guess we're at a point where we may as well leave it there. We are the AWO Journeyman. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube and Spotify at AWO Journeyman. Give us all that like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I love how the hell has it happened again this week that he's dropped down in the last bit. That's amazing. Either way, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. He can't make. He bet you he wanted to have a little bit. He wanted to have his little bit at this as well, I bet you. But guess what? He can't. And I'm going to say, drink more water, and he can't do shit.
I thought he was just stone-facing us. I honestly just thought he was stone-facing.
He can't actually put in the theme song to cut us off.
Dum. I need to take some